Hey, what's up guys? Jackson here at Toasted DIY, and today we're taking a look at two KTM 390s, except one is a Duke 390 and the other is the 390 RC. Let's get right into it. So this right here is my 2021 KTM Duke 390, and then this is my buddy's brand new 2022 KTM 390 RC. Now, he actually just bought this. It is 2023, so he was able to get a really good like $1,000 rebate on it. So we were like, dude, this is definitely it. And then this is my 2021 390, which doesn't even have 1,000 miles on it yet, but I did finally get past the break-in period. This one only has like 10 miles on it, if that, so it's only been ridden once or twice. And obviously they look like totally different bikes, but we're gonna actually take the camera and go handheld and kind of look over each one, because although they both look different and they both definitely perform a little bit different, they actually have tons of similarities as well. So let's get right into it. So I really just wanted to kind of make an updated video, because the most recent video I could really find comparing the two is like 2015 models, and it seems like that might be when both of these bikes were on the market at the same time, or at least when they came out. And so, you know, 2015, there's definitely a lot that has changed. So they are 1 year apart. This one is a 2021, this one is a 2022. And I would probably say were probably about 1.5 years apart, because I think that was like a mid or early 2021, and this was a late 2022. So there definitely is a lot of things that look different on these bikes, but if you've owned either one of these, you can definitely spot a lot of similarities. Like for one, they both are trellis frame design. So this one, although it has some fairings covering it, you can still see the painted black trellis frame. And then over here, I have a more exposed trellis frame that is part orange and then part black. But this is kind of like a better look at the exoskeleton design. So trellis frame is a really iconic look. A lot of people really love this. This is of course what the actual Ducati Monster used to have on all of their bikes, and it just is a really iconic look, very Italian for the most part. They both have rear seats, although I will say the passenger rear seat on the RC is much higher. And then the seating position is about the same on both bikes. Now, obviously with the RC, you're sitting back a little bit further, and the tank is much taller with a protective cover over it, so that you can kind of lean over and tuck under that windshield, which is a pretty small windshield, but I'd say it's just tall enough where if you really tuck your head really hard, you can kind of get under the wind, or at least to where the wind's hitting the top of your helmet. Now, the seat is definitely smaller on the RC, and it's definitely a little less comfy. And that's one thing that a lot of people pointed out. The Duke, you have a seat that comes all the way down very nicely. This one, I mean, it ends very quickly, very abruptly. That's almost one thing I think they could have done, was had it come out a little further, but hey, that's just me. Overall though, both bikes are fairly comfortable for longer rides. I mean, neither one of them are considered to be like a luxury bike, but obviously this one is more geared towards, I'd call it like city driving and more longer rides. Now this one's more geared towards your track days, but I wouldn't say that it doesn't mean it can't be used in the city. I mean, pretty much everybody that rides sports crotch rocket style bikes uses them on highways, cities, whatever, because they just like the styling of the bike. I personally have always been more of like the naked upright sports bike. Personally, that's kind of what I usually go for, and that's what I look for in the bike. That's why I had the Ducati Monster. Now the headlights, fairly similar. They both feature a ton of LEDs. Now this one's a little more hidden with the LEDs being back here, and the actual light. It's kind of cool they did it. It's separate, but it's kind of tucked in to the windshield. This one just has a very nice kind of open style light that kind of looks weird when you really look at it. I never really dissected the light, but it's definitely kind of buggy looking. Now, as far as the suspension goes, you do actually get adjustable suspension with this one, which is really cool. So you actually have compensation and damper on two different sides here, which is really cool. So you can actually change that up and down. It's like the rebound and compensation, which is really cool. And you know, I can't say that it's something that I'd exactly know how to adjust all that easy, since I personally don't have it on the Duke. But as you can see, I mean, the Duke is a similar dual fork setup with shocks in the front, and then a single spring with damper in the rear, which I think that's the exact same. And that, I believe, is, yeah, that's adjustable on both bikes, as you can see. Now they both have pretty similar braking with the Vibri brakes. They actually have dual disc, which I really do appreciate. So a really large disc and caliper in the front, and then in the rear, It's actually on the other side. It's a little bit smaller, but it's still very, very usable. I mean, it's better than a drum brake setup for sure. It's much easier to see, much better looking. They both actually come with ABS from the factory, which is really awesome. Now, the RC actually has, at least, I don't know if this is the new thing that they have on both models, but I know for sure the RC actually has traction control and one or two other features that's kind of cool. And then the Duke basically just has ABS. I don't believe it has traction control or anything like that. So once again, I mean, it's kind of a, thing that's mainly for track, but it obviously is nice for rain and whatnot as well. So, that's one thing that you are kind of missing out on. They both have really similar radiator setups. The RC is a little more hidden with the radiator, but this one you can see fairly well. Now, the exhaust is one thing that I noticed right away. I didn't actually notice it until I rode the bike. I rode the bike around a little bit, and I noticed that this exhaust sounds a good amount different when you actually get the RPMs up. Now, in idle, they both sound the exact same. They both just sound like single cylinder thumpers. But you can see we have like a kind of black painted matte black exhaust coming out to here with a little silencer cover. And then notice this one is just open, and this one's just all stainless steel, no paint or anything. So that was something that I noticed I thought was kind of interesting. These are both stock exhausts, nothing's been done, but I will let you guys hear them. Now, I'm not gonna really be driving them or anything. I do have videos of the Duke being driven, but I'm not gonna drive my buddy's bike since it doesn't really have insurance on it. And that's the last thing I'd want to happen. We will do some separate videos though later on of the bikes actually driving. Now, the mirrors on both of these bikes are amazing. The rear view mirrors or your side mirrors work really well. I actually love these mirrors. That's one thing on my Ducati, honestly, that I don't exactly love is the mirrors are a little bit harder to see out of, but these ones are just very out there, so you can really see well. And obviously with this one being more tucked forwards, your shoulders are a little less broad, so you can really see out the back really well. Now, obviously the seating position is much more aggressive on this bike. You're definitely leaned more forwards. So I'm about, I'd say like 5'8", maybe 5'9", on a good day, because every guy has to say that. And my buddy's about 6'1" or 6'2". He actually fits the bike fairly well, believe it or not. He's able to stand flat-footed, or sorry, sit flat-footed, but it's not like a super, I guess you call it like low flat-footed. Like he can just barely be flat-footed. I'm almost kind of on my tiptoes on either of these bikes. I do feel like the RC feels taller, but the seat could just be more broken in. I'm not really sure, but it feels like it could be like maybe half an inch taller as far as the seating height goes. Like I said, I will have some video of me kind of sitting on both bikes just so you guys can get an idea. Now, the gas tanks both do have locks to get in, and the screens on these bikes are very similar. Like there's really almost no difference. Now, obviously you can see the traction control logo there, and then you have your buttons over here, which those are really similar. You can see average mile per gallon. You can actually see like what your fuel range left is, which I think is really cool. So right now this bike is unflashed. So it's on the most starting tune essentially. So once you get past your 600 miles, you actually get more features, which I kind of think is funny. It's like you have to unlock the features on your bike. Now this one over here, your screen's obviously more exposed, but they have really, really bright screens. Like the sun is about as bright as it gets here, and I can still see everything perfect. So as you can see, we get pretty similar menu. I do get a couple of more features since mine has gotten past the break-in tune. And I do get like Bluetooth stuff like that, which I'm sure that this one will have all those features, probably a couple more than this one since it's 1 year newer. And on top of that, it's the RC version and it costs a little more. You definitely get some more features. Now the blinkers and the horns, all that stuff's the exact same. The brights, like such as the headlights, the exact same. They both have the daytime running lights and those work the exact same. So there's a lot of things in this bike that are very similar. I do really love the turn signals on this bike. I want you guys to see those. They're kind of like integrated, while my turn signals are, kind of stick out, which is a pretty normal thing that standard bikes do. They both have pretty much the same battery from the factory, to my knowledge. I think these actually both come with lithium-ion batteries, but don't quote me on that. I'll need to look it up. Now the engine on both of these bikes is pretty much the exact same. Now the engines on these bikes, because you may be wondering this, are almost the exact same engine, and to my knowledge, I mean, they really are the exact same. I'm sure that there's some very minute differences, but on both of these bikes, you get a single cylinder 373cc. Don't be fooled by the 390 name. It's actually a 373cc, and you do get a 6-speed transmission on both of these, or gearbox, and they both shift like butter. They're both really, really amazing bikes. I mean, I really can't stress to everyone enough that if you're looking to spend about, I'm gonna say 6,000 or less in pretty much any market, 6,000 USD or less, these bikes are definitely the way to go. I actually got this one kind of pre-COVID, or I guess it would have been during COVID maybe. I can't remember, but for some reason this bike was not expensive. Because I got it, like I said, right when the new model year came out, or about midway through, out the door without like financing fees, just counting like the dealer fees and freight fees. I want to say was like maybe $4,700. This one, after like the rebates and stuff, was a tad over $5,000. And he ended up paying cash, so that definitely worked out a lot in his favor. I technically spent more in the long run on this bike than he did on this one. So that's really awesome. But yeah, I mean, overall, really beautiful bikes. I'm super excited to do some riding with him, although this is kind of my girlfriend's bike at this point, and then this bike will be his, and then I'll be on the Ducati. So hopefully I'll get some really cool like riding videos for you guys. But I do want you all to hear the actual engines now. I want you to hear how the exhaust sounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure both bikes are neutral. We're gonna start them up. So this is the Duke 390, and right now it is cold. You can see we don't have anything on the gauge yet, so I'm gonna let that warm up for a minute. The Duke is running because I'm letting it warm up, so it might overlap a little bit, but we'll see how it sounds. Hey, combined, they almost sound like a V-twin. Alright guys, so hopefully you got a good idea, especially if you're thinking about buying one of these bikes, or maybe you own one and you're thinking about getting the other for a friend or family member or whatever. But Yeah, they're both wonderful bikes. As far as features go, you know, you are spending a little bit more in the RC, so you are getting some more plastics and metals as far as the fairings go. You're definitely getting a couple of just added things that the naked bike does not have. But as far as like ABS and traction control, I did notice it looks like both bikes do have that. I believe this bike just in the menu has a couple more features that I can't quite pinpoint at the moment, but I'm sure if you look up the two side by side, you'll be able to find it. Just like I said, it's really hard to find a whole lot of stuff comparing the two, especially the years. It's easy to find 2015s and 2016s, but that's not really what we're looking at here. But overall, like I said, both amazing bikes. I absolutely recommend both of them for the price. So let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see these bikes ridden and what else you guys would like to know about them. Peace out. See you guys in the next one.